Hi, I'm Simon Yates. I'm the assistant head brewer here at Banksy's in Wolverhampton. Banksy's is the original name of this particular brewery. It's part of the Marston's Group, which is one of the biggest independent breweries in the UK, probably the second biggest nowadays. And we've got 6 breweries in total, this being one of the biggest, probably producing the most beer out of the 6. We do a lot of work for Ian Jeffrey of Naked Brands, brewing for his export project into France and hopefully into other countries in Europe soon. And we've also historically done a lot of work with Ian, with the Wetherspoons Club chain, which I think we've done as well before Spike. So we've done a lot of beers, a lot of collabs with overseas brewers from pretty much every continent on the globe. Some of the guys have been here 4 or 5 times and they know the way around the place better than I do. So it's great to see Spike and get to grips with doing some brewing with Terrapin.
Yeah. We're gonna do an amber ale. It's kind of for the Terrapin fans out there. It's kind of loosely based on our old tree hugger recipe that we have. We're gonna hop it up a little bit and add some dry hopping to the mix. So it should be a very interesting beer that we're gonna do here. You know, obviously, as you travel around the world and make your recipes at different breweries, every brewery has its own house flavor. So I'm really excited to see what this is gonna taste like on their system.
And most of this is going to France, the French market, right?
This is all for keg, whereas the beers that we do with Wetherspoons are exclusively cask. So this is going to be exported in 30-litre kegs into pretty much the whole of France, I believe, into the bars and the cities that have got an interest in the craft beer end of the market. So it's pretty exciting.
And how long ago was this equipment retired?
This just over 20 years ago.
Okay.
The new couple whirlpools that we saw came on stream in 1997. These were associated with hop backs because we used to use leaf hops in these guys. So we dumped the charge of the brew kettle here, the copper, into the hop back, which is a bit like an Ashton. So we thought about the hops and the leaf hops in the hop back. Whereas the new vessels that we saw next door, copper whirlpools, because we use pellets and whirlpool action makes the sediment settle to the bottom of the hop residue and all the protein. Okay, the open fermenters that you can see here, we've got 90 odd of them through the brewery. They're all the same size, about 21,000 litres. Pros and cons, as I said earlier, if we were starting again, we probably wouldn't have that many open fermenters, but there are advantages, particularly when you come to dry hopping. This one over here, we throw in type 90 pellets into the beer. At the end of fermentation, and when the boiling's brought it down below about 60 Fahrenheit, and that means that we can get the hops assimilated very well, we can give them a stir, and we get full mixing very, very easily, which is less easy to do in a pot. Yeast dropping is from the top, clearly. It's top fermenting yeasts that we use. You can see the time mark on here where the yeast level has risen up to, and then we've skimmed the yeast off. This one's clearly been dry hops. This is a newish beer that we've got called Hobgoblin IPA. Yet another IPA right now.
Right.
Going really well.
It's quite a color difference between the undry hopped and the...
This one is actually just at the start of the fermentation, so it hasn't actually got into the throes of active fermentation yet, just going through the lag phase.
Right.
But by this time tomorrow there'll be a fluffy head on there, all things being equal. And then after 3 days it'll risen up to that sort of level you see the time mark out there, and then we'll skim the yeast off. We get down to the right gravity, right ABV, and then put the cooling on, chill it back down to low 40s Fahrenheit over the next 3 days, 4 days, whatever it is. So it's going to be in fermented for at least 7 days. Name amber, so that gives you a bit of a steer on the colour. It's going to be medium dark, a deep gold, pale chestnut, I guess. Yep. It's amazing how many different expressions brewers have to coin to use the word brown.
Definitely.
So it's EBC 45. That's mid-20s SRM. So that's colour-wise what's in there. It's great malt base with crystal amber of Munich and Carafa Special for that little bit of colour in there. Then hop-wise, we're not going for a massive bitterness, it's just 40 bitterness units. So minimal sort of first edition with a UK hop called Admiral. Admiral's quite an interesting hop. It's a reasonably high alpha, as at the moment a 13.6 alpha, but it's got a Seville orange note that doesn't necessarily come through massively when you're using it as a bittering hop. You use it later in the process, you get this marmalade-y, bitter orange note coming through, which should hopefully blend quite nicely with some of those other citrus notes from the other hops. And then we're first late hop is with Centennial and Citra, followed by the final late hop as the whirlpool is emptying with Mosaic and Citra, which is the majority of the charge. And then we're dry hopping with Galaxy and Amarillo, so there's a lot of fruity flavours going to be in there.
Yeah, it sounds really good.
Got some citrus from the American Centennial in particular, and some fruity notes from Mosaic and Citra, and then Amarillo, one of the fruitier ones as we know, and Galaxy with those peach notes.
Yeah, it's going to be pretty juicy.
So it's going to be a juicy one.
And it's kind of interesting. So when we took the tree hugger, the base of the tree hugger malt bill, and that was all German malts, and it was kind of neat to transfer over to English UK malts. I think the only thing we've got a little Carafa 3 and the Munich that are the only 2 German malts in there, and then the tree hugger hop bill was blown out of the window, and we kind of just made our own thing about how we wanted it to be more fruit forward and citrusy, and that's where all the Mosaic and Citra, of course, and Galaxy and Amarillo for dry hopping. So
yeah, it's one of the things that they're quite keen to make sure that we do get is a big sort of billowing hop character. I wasn't sure that the French would take to it, but they did. They loved it. So after the first one, which was with Arcadia from Michigan, that was a fairly basic recipe, mainly Cascade additions throughout the run. But we were very generous with the hopping, and it went down really well. So
that's good.
Plenty of hops here, keeps time. So
yep, and 6%. So we do 6% alcohol.
Yeah, 6% ABV. So it should be very enjoyable beer.
It's a lot of planning that went into this.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, and this was all by email, right?
Well, yeah.
Smoke signal.
All right.